If you're thinking about starting a side hustle, or better, finally stepping into that business owner role and going full time, then there's no time like the present to dive in and start selling on Etsy. What's up everyone, I'm Jay, and alongside running a YouTube channel, I own a couple of Etsy shops that have not only kept me busy, but have also hit multiple six figures, and the first of which was back in 2015 and not through the pandemic when it was much easier. I'm also a graphic designer by trade, and I'd been freelancing for close to 10 years before getting into selling online. I've also managed the graphics department of Canada's largest publishing company, and I was responsible for 140 graphic designers. Now that job, along with middle management at a major Canadian bank, led me to want to leave the toxic corporate culture and leverage the skills I'd honed to live life on my own terms. Since then, I've been able to travel to places I never thought I'd ever visit, and was even hosted by Printify and invited to speak as a headliner at their first ever Printify Amplified POD Summit, and that was just in the fall of 2023. And now, because of print on demand, I'm living on a tiny island in Belize, and by tiny, I mean less than 5 miles long and about 3/4 of a mile wide at its widest. No more dark, gray, cold dampness for 7 months a year. All that out of the way, this is all about showing you the ropes of setting up a successful Etsy shop and getting those first sales rolling in. We're going to cut through all the noise and look at what really works. This isn't just about getting you to start selling on Etsy. It's about showing you the bigger picture of what you can achieve online and how awesome it feels to earn your first real money from your online efforts. If you've ever wondered if you could really make it online, or if starting your own thing seems too daunting, then let me squash those doubts for you right now. There's never been an easier time to get started, especially on a platform as user-friendly as Etsy. I'm going to break it all down into tiny bite-sized chunks so that it's going to be super easy to follow. I'll also introduce you to the print-on-demand business model, which will be our focus in this Etsy Quick Start Guide. So why Etsy? Well, it's simple. You don't need any experience or design skills. Creativity and creating is something you can learn, and you'll pick it up as we go. So Etsy is a search engine based platform that brings traffic to you. Your job? Focus on creating awesome products. This lets you hone in on your product range, spot trends, and learn the ins and outs of running a print-on-demand business without the hassle of setting up your own website. If you've been following for a while, you'll know that I've always called Etsy e-commerce with training wheels. It's much easier to get started on Etsy compared to a Shopify or other standalone platforms. Setting up a website is tough. You'll have to wear a lot of full-time hats. You'll need to learn to become a marketer, how to start driving your own traffic. You'll need to start building teams and systems and handling payments and managing multiple social media channels, which can be super overwhelming. Etsy handles all of that for you, and it's a place where you can add your own boutique in their mall and let Etsy drive the traffic to you. Keep in mind that selling POD products is a long-term game. It takes time and momentum, and depending on your niche, growth can be tied to the number of products in your store. It's a long-term play, but it's so worth it. Over time, your efforts in the evergreen niches will pay off, and you'll have a source of income that won't require much ongoing work beyond regularly adding a few things as maintenance. In the beginning, it's all about putting in the effort. You're going to need to work hard, create a good amount of products, and stand out on Etsy. But the beauty of this business model is that once it's set up, it can provide you with the freedom to take days off, travel, work remotely, attend your kids' school events, sports, and work on your own terms. It's a great business model for anyone needing flexibility and maybe even some extra money in retirement. I've been selling on Etsy and it's been life-changing. I've been able to work from home and travel while working remote. Yes, it'll be work up front, but yes, I'll also try to make this as easy as possible for you by eliminating all the speed bumps that slowed me down when I started. And yes, you might even see results quickly, but it might also take some time, and that's okay too. You're building a business here and not just a side hustle. So I encourage you to grab a pen and paper, jot down some notes, follow along, or even set up your own Etsy shop as we go. Engaging with the content as we go will help make the learning process stick, or maybe you might even want to watch it through first and then rewatch while you set up your shop. I'm excited to start this journey with you, and I'm even more excited to hear about your successes once you start selling on Etsy. Welcome to parts 1 and 2, part 1 of which is choosing a niche, and part 2 is identifying your ideal customer. So first, you need to choose a niche to sell in. And you don't have to get too specific here. A niche is just an area of interest. It's that simple. And you can also change your mind later on that niche, but if you have one in mind, this will make everything a little bit easier as we go. So here are 5 easy ways to choose a niche, starting with the easiest. Number 1 is to follow your passions. Begin with what you love, what you know, what you feel. Whether it's art, sports, pets, another hobby, occupation, starting with a passion makes the process more enjoyable and sustainable. And if you're excited about your products, that enthusiasm will come through to your customers and you'll be able to come up with ideas for designs way more easily. Number 2 is to use Etsy's search bar. You can just simply type related keywords into Etsy's search bar to see what products and themes are popular. Notice what autofills as you type. These are things that are popular right now. Notice too the frequency of certain items and the variety of available products. This can help you identify what buyers are interested in and what might even be oversaturated. Number 3 is research simple trending topics. Look for simple, broad trends that you can cater to. This could be anything from seasonal themes like Christmas or Halloween to pop culture like TV shows or music. Websites like Pinterest and Google can be a great source for trending ideas. Just make sure to check trademarks so that you don't get into any intellectual property hot water. Next is to capitalize on cross niches. Combine two of your interests to create maybe potentially a unique niche. For example, yoga and eco-friendliness, or pets and travel. This approach allows you to target a specific group of customers who are passionate about both topics while still being able to target them individually too. Number 5 is to consider larger evergreen markets. You can focus on niches that have consistent year-round demand, such as weddings, birthdays, and travel. And while these markets are always active, they may be a little bit more competitive, but they can also be really good at providing a steady flow of potential customers. These beginner-friendly methods can help you select a niche without overwhelming you. That'll set you up for a successful start in your Etsy POD business. Part 2 here is defining your ideal customer with the help of my ideal customer workbook. An ideal customer is the perfect buyer. This will help us choose what sub-niches our perfect buyer might be interested in. Now, this stuff isn't fluff. It's a major element that most struggling online sellers totally overlook. In this workbook, you'll identify their likes, their dislikes, their income, their lifestyle, their personality, what they're passionate about, what their online shopping habits are, all that kind of stuff. And knowing this stuff is going to help you create things that your customers want to come back and buy over and over again. And we'll do a quick run through here. Okay, so this is the ideal customer workbook here. It's 15 pages, but it's a really easy read. So it just talks about what an ideal customer even is, a little bit of insight here, and then you're going to want to get into defining your ideal customer. Who do you want to brand you align with? So what is an ideal customer anyway? An ideal customer is basically the people who you want to reach. It's more than just the niches, right? So this workbook will take you through all you need to know for defining your ideal customer. So fast forwarding to page 3 here, after a brief definition above, you can see part 1 is demographics. So you're going to want to fill out things like how old are they? Are they, male, female, non-binary? How do they identify? How much money do they make every year? Are they single? Who are they attracted to? Are they living in a city, suburbs, ethnicity, cultural heritage? Any pets? Kids? Do they smoke or drink? And then there's still notes here. And then we get into what's known as psychographics. So it's more about their values and their opinions on life based on their life experiences. So what they believe is important in life, like caring for the planet, social justice, maybe family, interest, areas of curiosity or enthusiasm, like hobbies, sports, arts, or tech even. The way they live their lives, reflecting their choices in leisure, travel, entertainment, and daily activities, and their personalities, like traits that define how they typically think, feel, and behave. Are they introverted? Are they extroverted, right? Motivations, goals, their attitudes, their feelings or opinions on various topics, like their dislikes and maybe preferences. And number 7 is their opinions. They might think renewable energy is key for the environment and cutting down on plastic is vital for marine life and sustainability. And these beliefs could come from noticing, impact firsthand or from society's push on these kinds of topics. Number 8 is aspirations, what they dream of achieving, like starting their own business, their personal milestones, or goals. Number 9 are the challenges, the things they're worried about or problems they face. Are they scared of failing at something new? Or like imposter syndrome is a real thing, or maybe they're having a hard time managing, a work-life balance. The important thing to note here is that all of these concerns influence their buying habits and how they look for solutions in their day-to-day. Number 10 is the buying habits, like how they shop. Are they always looking for the same eco-friendly brands? Are they looking for certain names? Are they looking for the best deals or discounts? Are they the ones that filter by price? Are they the ones that filter by shipping times, right? So these habits, again, could be, shaped by their commitment to sustainability or just convenience or different things like that. Got a little part for doodles here, and part 3 is the pain point. So we're already through page 10 out of 15 here, so it's going pretty quick. So now you want to identify pain points or obstacles or objections that your ideal customer may encounter. These are going to be things like maybe they might find it hard to express themselves, or they're dealing with self-esteem issues, work-related stress. And how does your product make a difference? How does their product kind of provide solutions, right? At the end of the day, graphic design and the design we do is all about creating solutions for problems that our customers have. Part 4 is knowing where they hang out online so you can direct your marketing efforts appropriately. And it's really simple here. So what are the 3 favorite social media platforms? You can list them in order of preference. Do you plan to be on those platforms? So do you plan to have your social media efforts, kind of blasting on those platforms that they're on? Yes or no? And then how many times a day? This is kind of like intro to creating a social media schedule, right? What kind of posts do they engage with? Are there certain political posts that maybe, get them fired up or engaged? Or do they drop funny gifs or memes? Are they really thoughtful, long drawn out? Part 5 is worldviews. What are their beliefs? What are their views on society? Their adaptability to change and social engagement. So this is the overarching idea here, is that the sweet spot is going to be where your ideal customer's worldviews align and overlap with your brand values. And part 6, by the time you get to this page, you're going to have probably, developed a little bit of an idea of what your ideal customer might even look like, right? So again, not fluff, but you can give them a name, an interesting backstory that screams their personality traits. You're probably already thinking of somebody in your friends or family circle anyway, right? So you can maybe even go with that if you wanted to. Maybe just give them a different name so that you don't actually say it out loud. This is all really that simple. Then you're just going to want to revisit and refine as you go. And finally, you can use this as a guide if you wanted to repeat the steps, if you wanted to sort of maybe pivot and go after a new niche or ideal customer. So that's it for part 2. Part 3 coming up is going to be picking your shop name. Welcome back to part 3 of our Etsy POD Quick Start Guide. If you followed along from the beginning, you're probably itching to dive into the exciting world of online sales. But before we can open your shop and showcase your products, there's a crucial step you need to nail, and that's choosing the right shop name. Your shop name just isn't a label. It's your brand's first impression, it's your unique identifier, and a key part to your marketing strategy. So now, while choosing a shop name is important, you are allowed to change your shop name in Etsy twice without approval, so make sure you don't overthink this part or get too stressed out about it. As usual, let's break this down into easily manageable bites so you can pick a name that makes sense. Think of your shop name as the front door to your business. It needs to be inviting, memorable, and clear. A well-chosen shop name will set the tone for your brand, differentiate you from the competitors, optimize your shop for search engines, especially if you eventually take it off Etsy, making it easier for customers to find you. Now here's 3 easy ways to create the perfect name. Keep it simple and memorable. Opt for names that are concise and easy to recall. Avoid complicated names or phrases that might be tough to spell or pronounce. Make it relevant. Your name should offer a clue about what you're selling. Whether it's custom t-shirts, canvas prints, unique phone cases, let your name hint at your niche or its products. Using keywords related to your products can enhance your shop's search engine optimization if you ever take it off of Etsy. For instance, if you specialize in travel t-shirts, incorporating words that have something to do with your niche like cruise or beach might be beneficial. This also helps to keep it memorable. Number 3 is to be practical and test it out. While it's tempting to choose a name that stands out, make sure it's not overly obscure. Unique doesn't have to mean bizarre. Also, steer clear of names that might be too similar to existing brands to avoid confusion and potential legal issues. Say the name aloud. Does it sound good? Is it easily spelled after hearing it? Get feedback from your circle and members of this community. Their insights are going to be super valuable here. Number 4 is check availability. So before you finalize a name, make sure it's available. You'll need to check availability in a few places. There's Etsy shop name availability. It can be changed twice without needing Etsy's approval, so no big deal if you think of something better later on after you open. You're also going to want to check if the domain name is available. If you plan to expand beyond Etsy, securing a matching domain is going to be crucial. While Gmail account can be okay for Etsy, having something like jsweetteas.com sounds and looks way more professional than jsweetteas@gmail.com. And you're going to want to look pro if you ever decide to branch out to your own website. So it's better to register your own .com now than try in a year only to find out that it's no longer available. I like to use namecheap.com for this, which I'll link to down below, because as the name says, It's cheap, and they offer a free domain privacy for life. You'll also want to point your domain name to the Etsy shop for now, and then if and when it points to your own website, you'll hopefully have already, secured some steady traffic, and it'll be a pretty simple switch. Now you can see here that there are also many other options if the actual .com isn't available, but .com is the most globally trusted, so I do recommend going for that if it's available. You're also going to want to check social media handles. So consistency across platforms is key for brand recognition and awareness. So you're going to want to get a few profiles registered. It's free and it's worthwhile to secure one for your business even if you don't plan to use it yet. You're also going to want to check trademarks. So you're going to want to check the USPTO to make sure that you stay out of any legal hot water. Sounds like a lot, but it's really actually pretty easy. Here's how to do it. So you're going to want to come over to uspto.gov here, which stands for the US Patent and Trademark Office. We're going to click on trademarks, and then you're just going to click on search trademarks. A few clicks to get there, but you just follow kind of the green brick road there. I would just type Big Dog Tees, click search, and then we'd click on expert. And you can see here now that there's coordinated classes, but we don't need to worry about that right now. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove the dead. And live literally means stuff that is pending, which is applied for and or registered. So we just want to make sure that we're not, going to be stepping on any future toes or any toes that are already registered. And because I'm selling shirts, I'm going to come down to class 025 that you can see here. If you hover over it, it tells you the class. So it says clothing. There's yarns and threads, there's fancy goods, toys and sporting goods, blah, blah, blah. So for our intents and purposes today, it's going to be class 25, and just from clicking that, it already filters. So we've got 849 results for Big Dog Tees. What it will do is sort the results by relevancy. So Big Dog Tees, if it's not showing up top, it means that there aren't any that have those three particular words in that order. So right off the bat, it looks like we're pretty safe. So now I'm going to search for one that I know exists so you can see what that looks like. Oddities is the name of the store and the trademark. Again, we'll remove the dead because we don't care about that, but you can see here Oddities, it's live and registered. So if it's not registered, it will just show live here, which means you would still technically be allowed to use it right now, but it doesn't mean that it isn't close to being registered, like that it's already in that process, right? So you'd want to check and make sure that you're not going to be stepping on any potential future toes. But for right now, Oddities, for example, is live and registered. If you wanted to go in and check some of the legalities here, you can just click on the word mark here. So to spark some creativity, here's a few tools that can assist in brainstorming some names. For name generator, you can use some name generators. So there's websites like Shopify's business name generator. There's an online thesaurus, which you can use to discover synonyms for words that describe your products or the emotions you wish your brand to evoke. There's also ChatGPT. Like AI is great at giving you name ideas for your shop based on the niche and products that you want to sell. So for a quick recap, here's the don'ts. Don't use your name because nobody knows who you are. Don't be super generic. Don't use super generic wording like crafts and more. Don't use weird, obscure spellings like adding a number or a letter like a Z or a Z in designs when it should be an S. And here's some do's. Write down a list of words that are relevant to your niche. Do keep your ideal customer in mind. And do remember that AI is your friend. Now your action steps here are brainstorm. Decide, dedicate some time to write down words that align with your brand's values and products. Evaluate, use the tips above to refine your list. Then verify, ensure the name is free to use on all intended platforms. Then decide, pick the name that best captures your vision and register it across all platforms to ensure brand consistency. Selecting a solid shop name is how to establish a strong online presence. Take your time, do everything with intentionality, follow these guidelines, and choose a name that will grow alongside your brand. Remember, your shop name is more than just a title. It's the cornerstone of your brand identity. So you got to make it count. See you in the next one when we finally open our shop. Hello and welcome back to part 4, which is opening our Etsy shop. First things first, you'll need to create an Etsy account if you haven't got one already. You can head over to Etsy using my link below for 40 free listings, which will save you $8 at 20 cents US per listing, and then sign up. And after signing in, you can click Sell on Etsy to start setting up your shop. You'll be guided through the process, including choosing your shop name, which we've already covered in part 3. I recommend choosing your own currency here so that you don't pay Etsy's conversion fees of 2.5%. There is now also a one-time $15 fee, which will at least be partially offset by the $8 savings on the 40 free listings. So let's walk you through what all of this looks like. All right, so you would just click sign in over here, and then you have the option of either signing in or creating a new account. So you would just dump in your email here, enter your name, enter your password, click register. So I'm now creating an Etsy account. And then we're going to want to come over here to your account, and we're going to click sell on Etsy. And it gives you a little bit of an overview. You know, you can click here, get started, or open your Etsy shop. Either one works. And then it's just going to walk you through a few steps here. A little bit of education going on there, but we can just click let's do this. And then they just ask a few questions here to see if there's anything that they can maybe provide in your dashboard at some point to help you along the way. You can say, I'm just starting to sell for the first time ever. I have a business I want to sell online for the first time. I want to expand, blah, blah, blah. You can pick one and continue. Doesn't really matter. You can also skip this question. Actually, I'll just click skip. Is there anything you'd like help with? And then you can, select some of these. They may send you emails or marketing information. I'll just skip that as well. Now time for the fun part. We can start our shop. And now this brings you to your shop preferences here. So you're going to absolutely want to make sure that you pick things that are accurate and true. Etsy is all about transparency here. And if you want to mitigate any risk of getting shut down or anything like that, which is probably going to happen anyway, while they vet you, it'll be a temporary suspension. You're going to want to make sure that this is all done correctly and above board. So for me, it will be Canada, Canadian dollar. Up to you how you want to do this. You can choose your own currency. If you're in the United States, you can stick with the United States. If you choose a currency that is not native to your country, you're going to get this pop-up. Are you sure? Using a shop currency that is different from your bank's currency may result in currency conversion fees. And this is because Etsy will charge 2.5% to convert your Etsy fees that you've accrued in your account to when they send it to your bank account if it's going to an account that is in a different currency. So keep that in mind. For our intents and purposes, I'm just going to say Canadian dollar today so that I don't have to deal with any of that. If you're in the States and you choose that and then you choose US dollar or wherever you're at, if it matches, you're not going to have any issues that way anyway. Enter your shop name. So I've entered Jay's Way Inner Circle here. Great thinking the name's available. If it's not available, if it was, for example, I know I have Jay's Way in there already, it'll say, looks like Jay's Way has already been taken. If you're stuck on a name that you really want, you can add co to the end, which is for company, already taken, maybe creative, certain things that have to do with the niche or the product or kind of the idea of your store. You could also write, if I was selling shirts, you could also write tees, for example, names available. I'm going to call it Jay's Way Inner Circle though, and save and continue. So as it says here, don't sweat it. You can just draft a name now and change it later. Sometimes you're going to find, that you find a name a little later that is more fitting, more appropriate. Maybe you've bought the domain name for something else that just seems to make more sense. So I'm going to stick with Jay's Way Inner Circle here, and we'll just save and continue. So now they want to know about your listing. So the category, you can just start typing here and it'll default, right? So if I put t-shirts, and then you've got a couple of options here, graphic tees, tops and tees. That's what I would probably put here. What type of item is it? So you have the option of physical or digital. It is a physical item. Who made it? I did. What is it? A finished product. When did you make it? For print on demand, it's always going to be made to order. And then production partners for this listing. I would add a production partner specifically because I'm using Printify for POD. The production partner is going to be, in this case, Printify. So you have this option here to show the production partner's name to buyers. So in the bottom of the listing or in your shop, they can see Printify there. If you want to hide it, I typically do, you can just write a descriptive title, what it is, and then the next one will be who they are. So you can just have an amazing print shop show if you don't want people to know you're using Printify specifically. About the production partner, what do they do, right? You keep it general, simple, general, easy. You have a limit of 300 characters. This is just predominantly for Etsy kind of disclosure. So for location, you can just choose the location where most of your stuff will ship from. Typically, if you're serving the United States, most of our stuff, no matter where we are on the planet, is going to go from the United States to the United States. So you can just pick one of the providers in Printify that you would typically use most often and enter that in there. I'll just go with Los Angeles for today's intents and purposes. So why are you working with this partner? It's because I don't have the technical ability or equipment to make it entirely by myself. What is your role in the design process? I design everything myself. There's a few others there you can take a look at, but this is what it is here. You design everything yourself. And what is the partner's role in the process? They do everything for me. And save. So you can see now we've added a production partner. It says Printify in LA, California, and it says it appears on the listing as an amazing print shop. So that's what's customer facing. And we'll just click done and save and continue. So before we can move forward here, Etsy's going to say, create a listing. They're going to force us to do that. So we can just say placeholder. It will cost us 20 cents and it will be live for 4 months without a renewal. So it'll last that long for just the 20 cents spent US. We can change the title and we can change this listing. So you're not actually going to be out that 20 cents or anything, but that's just the cost to get on board. And there will be a $15 fee coming up, which is new to Etsy as of about 2 or 3 months ago now. So I'm just going to put placeholder listing here. You've got your 140 characters, photos and videos. So all I did was create this test image that I'm dragging and dropping in here, created that in Canva. So we've got our test image here. We don't have to worry about adjusting the thumbnails or anything like that. You can ignore this pop-up. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. The description, you just have to put something in there. So I'll just put the placeholder again. It just has to have something in there. Personalization, we don't need to worry about that. Inventory, domestic, global pricing, whatever you want it to do. It has to have a price. Quantity, you can put whatever you want. We don't want to add variations or anything yet. We just want to get our shop open right now. We don't have to add tags or anything. We'll go through and edit all that later. The details, the core details, we've already filled out. Physical item, categories, graphic tees. Shipping option, we have to select a profile right now. So we'll just create new. So for shipping, we're going to want to enter fixed prices manually. I'm not exactly sure what this postal code is, but it was one that I had used before, so it auto-populated. Processing time, this is how much it's going to take for your print provider to process your orders before they ship. This does not include the shipping time. This is just how long from when the customer places the order to when it actually ships out that it'll take. Typically 2 to 5 business days seems to be pretty standard for most products, but you're definitely going to want to check on Printify or whoever you're using as to what their current turnaround times are. You can leave everything as is for now. We can always change that later. Shipping service, we can use USPS first class 1 to 5 is pretty typical. So this now is telling the customer that when they place an order, it'll take a minimum of 2 days processing time plus a minimum of 1 day in transit, up to 5 days processing and 5 days in transit. So we're looking at a 3 to 10 day window from when they place the order to when they'll receive it. What you'll charge, fixed price. 1 item, we can say 5. Additional item, we could say 4. And I'm saying this because I know that it's, it can be $3.99 for economy shipping on a t-shirt US, which is about $5 Canadian. And the additional items are down to $1.99, I think. But I like to charge a little bit more to offset some fees. Canada shipping service, doesn't really matter. We can just pick USPS, international times vary. What you'll charge, free shipping, no way. Fixed price. Canadian prices are typically a little higher, so I'll do 10 and 8. Everywhere else, we can do the same here. And this doesn't matter too much right now because ideally we're going to be trying to fulfill orders from within a country that is closer to the destination to shorten that time frame and to shorten or lessen the amount of money that it costs us to actually ship. You can ignore this. They just always try to get you to be cheap. And we're going to remove item weight and size here. Then we can apply this policy here by default. You can always change that a little later. And then we come down to save and continue. And that's it. We've got our first listing. It shows the test image here for $50. The title is called placeholder listing. So we can add more listings or do this later. So we can do this later now. And then it'll take us to the next step, which is how we'll get paid. So getting paid on Etsy, you're going to choose the country where your bank is. For tax purposes, what type of seller are you, individual or business? This will depend on if you've already got a registered business or anything like that. Most sellers, it tells you, will fall into the individual category. Country of residence, I'm in Belize, but technically all my banking information and everything, I'm still a Canadian citizen. That's where I pay taxes. My name, Jay D'Souza. I'll fill in my birthday. And it just asks here, share some info where you lived. Due to sanctions and laws, for more than 6 months in the past 10 years, did you live in Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Syria, Crimea, wherever DNR is, and a few others? No. Full name on account, Jay D'Souza. Not to get all matchy-matchy, but the name on the bank account needs to match the same as what you entered above. So then you can click on need to fix it, drop in your bank account information here, save and continue. We'll need to confirm. I'll go into my email here, Etsy, confirm your account, and you'll see it confirmed and we're all set. So now It's going to ask us to add a credit card number, which we're going to have to pay our fees and everything with. This is all above board, all legit. The billing address, it's got me in Belize by geolocation here, but I'm in Canada. So you would fill all of this out as you normally would. You're going to have to pay the one-time setup fee due now, it says, and the listing fee that we paid, which is 20 cents US, converted to your currency is 27 cents, and the USD $15 fee that I alluded to as a one-time setup fee works out to $20 Canadian. So the total due now is only the 20. This will be due later on. You can enter your VAT ID or tax ID for whatever country is, for example, in Canadian, it would be an HST number. You can enter that in here if you have one, if you're a registered business, and you would just review setup and continue. So you're going to approve the fee and continue. As a reminder, it's a one-time $20 fee, which is a $15 US fee. Once you continue the next step, we'll add pending hold to your card, but it won't be charged until you open your shop. Approve and continue. Fee approved. Great. The last and final step here is shop security. So you can, have an option to get a hold. They can send you a text. There's other options. You can have a phone call. You can use an authenticator app, which is the most secure. I'm going to warn you against using the authenticator app only because the app wouldn't give me a code that Etsy would recognize. And then I had to go through my emails and email Etsy support asking, for help to turn off the authenticator app because it would ask you for the code to turn it off also. So I recommend the SMS getting a text because, you're the only one who should have access to your phone. Entirely up. If you've had good experience with the authenticator apps out there of the world, go for it. I just don't feel comfortable with it because I've had a bad experience. But anyway, that would be it. So for two-factor with SMS, which is text, you can just enter the number and then send code. And then it'll tell you the code's been sent. It'll ask you to verify here and click continue. And then it says you're all set and it'll give you a bunch of backup codes that you're going to want to copy these and save somewhere safe. These will be, all 10 of these are what you're going to need if you ever, fail to get in or lose your device and can't get into your account. So you just want to save it to your device. They'll send you a message or you can copy the codes. And then we just click open your shop and your shop is open for business. Congratulations. Pretty painless. You can explore Shop Manager or review what can be sold on Etsy. Whatever you want to do. It'll kind of walk you around here. It gives you some growth tips, but this is what the inside of your dashboard will look like. We're going to go to listings to see what that looks like. So you've got our placeholder listings. We might head out of the way here. I always like to toggle this on so you have stats. So in the last 30 days, you'll show, visits, favorites, sales, revenue, and renewals. So you've got the grid format here, or you've got the list format. So that's it. Congratulations. You've opened your Etsy shop. So part 5 is going to be creating our first product with listing variations and shipping profiles. Hello, and welcome back to part 5 of the Etsy Quick Start Guide. In this one, we're going to create our first listing in Etsy, and then we're going to connect our POD provider. In this case, it'll be Printify. So here we go. Okay, so picking up where we left off here, we're in our listings section in Etsy, and I like to list my items actually in Etsy and not push from the POD provider. I've got some content on that on my YouTube channel, but the reason why is because when you push from your POD provider to Etsy, you still have to go into the listing and change the mock-up images. You got to change some tags sometimes. You got to change the product description. You have to assign categories in the listing, and I'm going to walk you all through it. It's not nearly as much as it sounds, but doing the work in the POD provider and then pushing to Etsy just gives you double the work for no reason. And there's no point creating all the listings in your print provider if you don't even know if they'll sell. And another massive component to this is that I believe that you should know the platform you're selling on inside and out. If for whatever reason there's an issue with your POD provider and you need to pivot, well, at least this will give you, the means and the know-how to be able to do that. So here we are in our listing that we uploaded before. I'm just going to go into here and we can edit listing here. And I've got a mock-up here that I created with our design on it. I'm just going to drag and drop it into here. We're going to delete our test image, and then we're going to edit this one because we want to adjust the thumbnail. So we don't want this zoomed out. You can see how it'll look here in a square on the Etsy search results. We want to make sure that the listing artwork itself is front and center, especially when you're using a mock-up that has, some characteristics and some, a little bit of character, right? It's got the folds in the shirt and the wrinkles, and the design tends to kind of go with it. So we're going to click adjust thumbnail, and then we can zoom in here so that it is totally visible. There's no mistake, and you can see that at a glance when somebody finds your item in the search results, right? So this is a Jay's Way best practice. Click done, and there we go. And then we can close this, and we're just going to describe the listing for somebody who may be visually impaired, right? It describes what it is here, and you can just click apply now. And then we can come over here and create our title. In this case, I'll call it Papa Bear Dad Shirt for Father's Day, comma, Grandpa Birthday Gift, comma, Daddy Birthday T-shirt for men, comma, New Dad Tee, comma, Cute Grandfather Top. And I've structured it this way because, as you remember in the preview when we were doing the thumbnail, you only see a first few characters of the title in the search results. So you want to make sure that when somebody lands on your listing in search results, that they can clearly identify what it is, who it's for, and what potential occasion it might be for, right? All in that first few characters. So this, for whatever reason, couldn't make out the design. You would at least see right under it in the search results here, Papa Bear Dad Shirt for Father's Day. Tells you exactly everything you need to know at a glance. And you do have 140 characters here, but I've only used 126. You can, maybe do a little bit of a deep dive into some trending keywords for the niche. But in this case, we're going to stop there for now. The description, you're going to want to create a description for your listing. So ultimately, you're going to want to take the main keywords from your title and put them into your description here, but in sentence form, right? So you want it to be keyword rich, but not just copying and pasting your title like this or anything like that. So a great way to do this, it would be to go to ChatGPT. So I've just asked ChatGPT to create me a short 2-sentence description for an Etsy listing with this title. Dropped in the title, and it came back with celebrate the special man in your life with our Papa Bear Dad shirt. Perfect for Father's Day, birthdays, or any occasion. This cute and comfy tee is a great gift for dads, grandpas, and new dads, adding a touch of warmth and style to their wardrobe. So this right here, you can tell is using all of the main keywords that we asked it to and put it into a sentence form that makes sense for the listing. And the reason why we want the sentence form is because the top few lines of this description will show up in Google results. So when you see the blue link to the item, roll right underneath it, it'll have a little blurb about what that is in Google search results. That's where this will show up. You could always click on this and add personalization if you wanted, enter the dad's name or enter the name, but in this case, we're not going to do that right now. So the next thing we're going to do is come down to pricing here, and we're going to just select a price for today. And I know that the Gildan 64,000 in Printify here works out to $778 US, and then with the shipping on top of that, it comes out to $12.63, including a card insert. So that said, that $12.63 works out to about $18 Canadian, $17.50, but I want to make a profit on that. So I'll charge, let's say $27, and I'll just put in the $17.50 that I know it roughly costs, and that's including shipping. And that tells me that I'm going to have a profit of about $6.48 Canadian, but we're also going to add a shipping fee on top of that. So remember that price that I said, the $17.50 is inclusive, or the $12.63 US is inclusive of shipping, right? So as we saw, it was $778 for small through XL, and then we were adding shipping on top of that, which if we scroll up here, you can see the shipping cost in the United States. I typically use this shipping, so $4.75. So for quantity, I like to have a number that is, around the 15 or less marker. So I'll just put 12. And that's because Etsy has these scarcity and urgency kind of elements built in, right? So if 20 people have this added to cart, Etsy will show a little red banner that says 20 people have this in their cart, and there's only 12 available. So if there's an element of urgency there, buyers who might be on the fence would be more likely to add your item to cart and check out right away, right? As opposed to if you had 999 or an infinite amount, then there's really no rush for them to kind of buy today, right? So for that reason, I'll leave that as 12. And then we're going to add our variations here. We're going to create our own here. The first one I'm going to do is size. And we're not going to link photos to this variation yet, but we will add our variations here. So we'll call it S, and I'll just copy this. And this is the most cumbersome part, but it's actually not even that bad. I'll just caps lock you, medium, and I'll stop there. And you can put unisex or whatever you wanted to, identify it. If we wanted to maybe add a sweatshirt to this listing later, that's why I have t-shirt there, so you can distinguish between the actual products. And I will click done here. And now we're going to add a new variation, and we're going to call it color. And it's auto-populated there. And then we're going to link photos to this variation. So I'll turn that on, and then we're going to add, we'll add 4 main colors today. And because I turn this on, so you can see if I turn it off, watch what happens here. You'll see an option to add photos. So now you see these photos here. So I'm just going to select a photo now, and we're going to use our black mockup. So if we had a navy mockup or royal blue or dark heather, you could also select that and choose from the mockup images that you've dragged and dropped onto your listing there. And then when people select a particular color in your listing, when they're shopping on your page, the default photo that they're looking at will change. So it shows the customer what the actual item will look like in the particular color that they choose from the drop-down menu. Click done here, and we're going to click prices vary now. And that is because if you noticed, if we went to product variants here and we looked at these, the prices are the same for small through XL, but as soon as you hit 2XL and 3XL, they go up. So we want to make sure that we account for that so we don't leave any money on the table. And we don't want to have prices vary for size and color, but only size. We'll click apply, and now we're going to come down here, and we know based on our math that we were doing $27. So I'm just going to write 27, copy and paste. And for this one, I'll probably do 32. So now we've got the prices fluctuating or varying between the sizes. We've got our image attached to this particular color. We're going to come down here to the core details now. You must fill this out. This is a physical product that is not a digital file. Who made it? I did. What is it? It's a finished product. When was it made? Made to order, because that's in essence what the on-demand part of print on demand is. And you know that we have Printify connected based on our last video here. All of this was already filled out. I'm just going to double check that, click apply, and then graphic tees. We've already selected this stuff. And then we come down to our tags. So an easy way to drop our tags in here is to go back up to our title, copy these, come back down to our tags, paste it in here. So we only have 1 to 20 character limit, but if you drop commas in here at strategic places, the commas serve to break up your keywords. I'll click on add, and it populates all of them. We have 4 left now. We can mix and match a couple here. You can add different elements here to let the customer know what's used to make the shirt. The materials category is optional, but if people do search for any of this stuff, what you have in here will serve as keywords. So if they search for a cotton shirt with water-based inks or eco-friendly inks, then your item potentially could show up in search results for those terms. What you don't want to do is add terms that don't apply to your item. And we've already created our shipping profile in the last video. And if you wanted to add a shop section, for example, so if this was going into a dad shirt shop, you could have maybe Father's Day, save, and then it would go in the Father's Day section. And it looks a little wonky here, but it will show up just fine in Etsy. Or you could always add the birthday one. Now we have the option to feature this listing, which will showcase the listing at the top of your shop's homepage to make it stand out. In our case, we don't have any items yet, so it will by default be at the top. But for our first few items, we can absolutely click this automatic renewal. So it'll cost you 20 cents each time it renews or each time it sells. So the cost is 20 cents when you list an item, and that means your item will be live for up to 4 months if there's no actual sale. But if you have this on automatic renewal, it will renew every time it's sold. So you will have to pay that fee every time an item sells. I like to keep it on automatic. That way, if it's on manual, you can see that it'll expire in 4 months from when we created this. And I definitely don't want to have it expire when, if somebody hadn't purchased it for whatever reason. I want to keep it live in my shop. And you can just kind of review your stuff. This is what we changed today. Titles, photos, description, yada, yada, yada. And we can preview here or publish changes. In this case, I'll just publish changes. And you can preview this. Or if we were to go to our main shop screen and click on the item, you can see here that if we were to pick a size and color, it's showing down here that our cost to ship to Canada is $7.58. If we chose the United States, for example, whatever area code, submit or zip code, you can see that the cost to ship
is $3.79 based on our $5 or $6 Canadian shipping that we had entered in the previous video. So that's it. Congratulations, you've created your first listing. Now, if you wanted to add a second or third listing, it's so easy to do. All that work is done. You would just come over here, click on your shop manager. We'll go into listings, come right over here to this little cog, and it's a drop down, and we're just going to click copy. You can tell that you're not editing the original listing and that it is a copy because you've got a publish copy button here now. So now if we're doing something in the same niche, the Mama Bear, Papa Bear, family shirts or something like that, we would only have to change a couple of keywords that would make sense, change dad to mom, etc. And then we would drag and drop in our Mama Bear mockups. And then we would just come down to the tags and change a few of these out to be relevant to the Mama Bear listing. And then you would publish copy with changes, and that would be it. And you can duplicate that and keep going. And that's why I say it's great to niche down and kind of batch your designs, because if you're niched, this becomes way easier. And if your designs are kind of in the same vein, you know, you're doing 5 or 10 at a time that kind of have the same element or same design aesthetic to it, then you really only have to change, you know, probably 3 or 4 tags or keywords in your listing, and then drag and drop those new mockups, and that would be everything you need to do. So the next step will be creating our Printify account and connecting our Etsy shop. Welcome to part 6 of the Etsy Quick Start Guide. In this lesson, we're going to be going over how to process your first order as it comes in from Etsy into your print-on-demand provider. In this particular case, we're going to use Printify, but the process is relatively universal across any POD provider you might want to use. So the first thing we need to do here is connect our Etsy shop to Printify to make sure that orders will come in. You would just click over here. I'll have a slew of stores here, and we go add new store, and then we would pick our platform where our store is. In this case, and you can see here, all the various platforms that Printify will connect to. So you can just pick here or pick here. It'll ask you to sign in. We can just click sign in, and I'll probably get an error here because it's already attached, but that's all you need to do. And you can see here that if we clicked on the order queue, it is empty. So from here, we're going to look at what to do when we get our first order on Etsy. So this is what it would look like here in your Printify Orders tab. Normally, this would have a submit button beside it if they hadn't already been done. But your first order will come into the other orders tab right here. It'll look like these, not imported. All we would do is click on the order, and you can see here they've made their selections for size and color based on what we had available in our Etsy listing. In this case, they chose 2XL Royal Blue. All you need to do is come in here, go to catalog, and you can search by clicking on men's clothing and then t-shirts, but we know that I'm using the 64,000, so I would just choose that. And I know that I want to use either SwiftPod or Monster Digital. In this case, I'll pick Monster Digital. And it shows you right here, 2XL Royal Blue. Then I would just go down to the Royal Blue, pick Royal, then pick 2XL. And I would tick this box here that says automatically import orders with this product variant. That means every time that particular Etsy listing gets ordered, this combination will automatically populate in your regular orders tab. So you'll never have to do this again. I would go next, and then we can go over here to my library and add artwork. In this case, we can just pick an artwork I had already there, size it to fit, and then I would probably just center it. And then what you can do, right now it's only selected the 2XL in the Royal Blue. You can come down here, select variants, scroll to this Royal Blue, and pick the drop down. You can see that we've only got this selected. You can at this point, just click that and it'll select all the blue. You can also now add navy. You can add any other colors you wanted. If there was a military green, and what do we have? Black, I think, and dark heather, for example. Now, all of these, you can just save product. It automatically has picked the 2XL Royal because that's what we selected, but that product is now created for all of those variations. So anytime somebody orders this listing on Etsy, it'll show up in your regular orders tab. Then you can click import order. You would have a chance to verify some details here, and I would click confirm, and it's importing and it cannot be edited. Please check back soon. Soon enough, if you wait here, you'll see a submit button populate here, but this is a chance to check the pricing, the shipping, whatnot. You can just wait. Oh, there it populates there, or you can go back to the queue. At this point, you can either click submit, or had we gone back to the queue to process other orders, it would now show up here with the submit button. So those are the two places you can click submit. Again, you can just click on this to double check if you wanted. Make sure that this, you can click here too, and it'll show you a view, but totally unnecessary. If you can kind of tell from looking at the screen right here that the right artwork we picked. And again, it shows the garment SKU and the size and color we chose it in. So that's all there is to it. This will automatically attach to your Etsy listing going forward. So you don't have to worry about copy and pasting SKUs like all the other people on YouTube try to tell you to do. It's just a lot of work for no good reason. And then you'd click submit, and that's all there is to it.
Your item will be printed and packaged by the provider you chose in Printify, and once it's shipped, it will automatically push a tracking number to your Etsy shop and mark that order complete. So basically all the hard work is done by the time you've hit the submit button in green. So hopefully I've made it easy to digest for you and made it a little less daunting, right? It's not nearly as difficult as it seems, and we really did this all in under an hour. And if you'd like to join my inner circle, I will leave a link down below in the first comment where you can also get a discount for Printify Premium for your first 30 days, as well as the Etsy link for the 40 free listings to give you that kind of $8 credit. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and we'll see you in the next one.